There's good science and there's bad science. There's good fantasy and there's astrology. Not only astrology is absurd according to science, logic and common sense, it is nonsense according to its own bleeding lore. It is as veracious as the cheapest Bollywood film. Various research has been conducted to test astrology, yet no results have proven to be working. Well, one thing at a time. I hope nobody confuses astrology with astronomy. So yeah, I meant astronomy. Astronomy kicks ass.
Oh, really? I'm into astrology too. What is your zodiac sign? What? I'm a fan personally.
Mesopotamian zodiac mentions related to stars are featured in early Babylonian star catalogs, such as Mul.Apin catalog, which was compiled around 1000 BC. Around 2420 years ago, about the beginning of the 5th century BC, Babylonians divided the ecliptic into 12 slices, each having a certain degree of celestial longitude. The first known celestial coordinate system, which translated to the 12 months during the solar calendar. Each slice corresponded to a certain zodiac sign. Babylonians drew an imaginary line between Earth and Sun, which seemed to pass through various constellations. Babylonians only needed 12 constellations to fit into their calendar. Nevertheless, there was a 13th constellation, which turned outcast because it did not fit into the 12-sliced model. The constellation ignored was Ophiuchus. Ophiuchus is a large constellation straddling the celestial equator. Its name comes from the ancient Greek Ophiuchos, meaning serpent barrier, and it commonly is represented as a man grasping a snake. A serpent is represented by the constellation Serpens. Ophiuchus was one of the 48 constellations listed by the 2nd century astronomer Ptolemy, and it remains one of the 88 modern constellations. An old alternative name for the constellation was Serpentarius. But guess what? Ophiuchus is not the only constellation that has not been credited. There are more constellations sharing the ecliptic, much more. In addition, because the moon and planets are often positioned either just to the north or south of the ecliptic, it allows them to sometimes appear within the boundaries of a number of other non-zodiacal star patterns. In fact, as pointed out by the well-known astronomical calculator Jean Moose, along the Ophiuchus there are 9 other constellations that occasionally can be visited by the moon and planets. Olga the Chartier, Cheetah the Whale, Corvus the Crow, Crater the Cup, Hydra the Water Snake, Orion the Hunter, Pegasus the Flying Horse, Scutum the Shield, and Sextant the Second. So in truth there aren't really 12 zodiacal constellations but 1 or 2. Moreover, constellations' position and borders were also ignored as they overlapped and blended into one another. In fact, the Sun spends more time traversing through Ophiuchus than nearby Scorpius. It officially resides in Scorpius for less than a week, from November 23rd through November 29th. It then moves into Ophiuchus on November 30th and remains within its boundaries for more than 2 weeks, until December 17th. And yet the serpent holder is not considered a member of Zodiac and so must defer to Ophiuchus. The other core reason modern astrology makes no sense is the precession of the equinoxes. Since the Babylonians created Zodiac around 2420 years ago, the tilt of the Earth has slightly shifted, further debating the accuracy of modern Zodiac. Earth constantly rotates, and as a result of its rotation it protrudes slightly at the equator. Sun and Moon exert a gravitational pull on the boat, which causes the Earth to wobble, which causes Earth's rotational axis to sway slowly in a circle over the course of about 25,772 years. This is called precession, and it causes the days of the zodiac to shift from those established in ancient times. It changes the view of night sky from Earth, making the constellations appear to slide to the east, roughly a degree per human lifetime. Hipparchus of Nicaea first discovered precession of the equinoxes with the naked eye around 150 BC. In ancient times, the vernal equinox, the first day of spring, was in Aries. Due to precession, it moved into Pisces around 100 BC, where it could be seen now. It will remain there until AD 2700, when it will move into Aquarius, resuming its journey. Over the course of 25,772 years, it will eventually return to Aries to restart this cycle. In 2015, there was an internet-circulated rumor claiming Zodiac would be soon modified to relate to the aforementioned gravitational pull. This is often confused with Zodiac sheet related to Ophiuchus, even by the science and media portal designed to oppose misinformation. Generally, all the media, regardless of their nature, appear to mix everything up. The viral spread was often accompanied by a screenshot of Time magazine. The famous screenshot originated from the Time magazine article Horoscope Hang-Up, Earth's Rotation Changes Zodiac Signs, published back in 2011. Of course, neither the gravitational pull nor a Fucus constellation did not suddenly appear out of nowhere in 2015. All this existed long known by astronomers. Only various concerns started surfacing increasingly since 2002. NASA explains the signs of the zodiac don't really fit with what we use today. Someone born in Leo, for example, would actually be Cancer nowadays. This has actually come up before, as Snopes explains. Of course, this is all just a scientific explanation for the zodiac, not a validation of horoscopes. NASA studies astronomy, not astrology, said NASA spokesperson Dwayne Brown. We didn't change any zodiac signs, we just did the math. If you're the type of person who relies on mysterious sounding location of stars to determine your personality and outcome in life, get ready to be shocked. The field of astrology, which is concerned with horoscopes and the like, felt a major disruption from astronomers who are concerned with actual stars and planets. The astronomers from the Minnesota Planetarium Society found that because of the moon's gravitational pull on Earth, the alignment of the stars was pushed by about a month. When astrologers say that the sun is in Pisces, it's really not in Pisces, noted Park Campbell, a member of the group's board. Your astrological sign is determined by the position of the sun on the day you were born, so that means everything you thought you knew about your horoscope is wrong. Get ready for a world to change forever, as written in the article. The article includes a hyperlink titled See the Counterpoint from American Astrologers, which opens up somewhat of a mini-article aimed to restore faith to all those suddenly straight, star-aligned people of the West world. Which, of course, also sounds like another ridiculous excuse, at least to me. What, you thought that'd be silent when their life's work was reinterpreted? Here's the first line of the article. Yeah, well, good luck relying your craft and fate in hands of a poor lord fantasy. Even Jediism seems like a safer and much more fun choice. After all, it's smarter listening to some advices of Yoda or some other son of Chiburashka than to authentic astrologers, which roughly translates to authentic shizu scammers. A Fucus-related rumors also partially stem from some journalists who looked up NASA's Space Place page for cases explaining constellations and suddenly realized there were 13 constellations instead of 12 in the ecliptic. According to astrology, there are 12 30-degree slices of the sky, adding up to 360 degrees, representing zodiac signs. In reality, constellation shapes and sizes vary drastically. For instance, as mentioned, Sun passes through the Scorpio constellation in only 5 days, but takes 38 days to pass through Taurus. Concluding all above, it is obvious that there is no accuracy in astrology whatsoever. The deviation of the matter is large enough to prove astrology nonsense once again. Thousands of years have passed and astrologers are still ignoring all those things. The difference, however, is those calculations were somewhat best ancient people could afford to make with their primitive tools. But nowadays, having all the technology in the world to educate themselves, people prefer to go thousands of years back in time to fetch all the primitive beliefs, ideas and stories to utilize them as their guidelines. The Mesopotamian zodiac is only one example of those produced by various cultures worldwide, all of which had their own notions of world structure. Incas, for instance, made constellations on the dark patches in the Milky Way rather than stars. Many scientific tests of astrology have been carried out, yet zero evidence is produced in its favor. In one famous case of 2007 study, senior researcher Dr. David Voss from the University of Manchester's Center for Census and Survey Research decided to undertake a statistical analysis of star sign compatibility, the largest test of astrology ever carried out so far. He utilized census data of people from England and Wales, looking at all 20 million birthdays of married couples at a time. There's even the smallest tendency for Virgos to fancy Capricorns or for Libras to like Leos, and we should see it in the marriage statistics, said Dr. David Voss in a statement. When you have a population of 10 million couples, then even if only one pair in 1,000 is influenced by the stars, you'd have 10,000 more couples than expected with certain combination of signs. As expected, someone's birth month does not appear to have any effect on the spouse choice. There is no such evidence though. The numbers are just what we would predict on the basis of chance, was said. Voss noted that there was no correlation between the absence of scientific evidence about astrology and its popularity either. The enthusiasm for zodiac-based personality profiling seems undiminished by hundreds of previous studies debunking astrology. Astrology nowadays is as popular as ever, but the bottom line of this and countless other studies is the same. If star signs had any influence at all, how small the giant magnifying glass of this huge sample detected. There is nothing there, concluded Dr. Voss. Note that even if we apply the gravitational shift, 13th zodiac sign shift, and any other correction, it would have shown some pattern anyway, just displaced. However, there is no pattern, just chance. Could stars somehow influence you? In short, no. That's marasmus. Gravity. Gravity of neither stars nor the moon does not affect you. Gravity of the moon and Earth mutually affect one another, resulting in tides on Earth, but that does not mean you get affected by the moon. Gravity is the weakest fundamental force. Its mutual attraction formula is given by. Let's solve for the gravitational force between the Earth and the moon. This is the force of mutual attraction between the Earth and the Moon. Now let's solve for a somewhat average mass human of 60 kg living on the Earth. Force of this magnitude can hardly affect you. For comparison, the amount of force acting on a body when the Earth pulls a mass of 100 grams is equal to 1 Newton. Could this be a thing? Keep in mind that this is a force between a whole 60 kg object and the Moon. If one tries to be smart and explain this as if 0.16 newtons is reasonable for neurons or cells, then we should actually redo the mass for a mass of a single neuron or any other cell. Mass of a large sensory neuron is equals to approximately 10 to the power of minus 9 kilograms. You do the math. If you try to solve for a gravitational pull force between you and some stars light years away, this is what astrologers claim, the outcome will be exponent and grown funny. Let's try solving for gravitational force between average mass human and Hamo Alpha Arcturus star, a brightest star in Aries constellation. Omitting the uncertainties for the sake of simplicity of the calculations and substituting these values into the equation gives. Simple math, you could do it. If gravitational attraction force between a human and the moon could appear far-fetched reasonable, you'll probably not convince me that this puny of a force can alter the course of history and decide whom you should marry. Magnetism. Moon. Being the second strongest conservative fundamental force, electromagnetism deserves to be mentioned in this discussion. As you may know, some planets like Earth have a magnetic field. Moon, on the other hand, does not currently have a dipolar magnetic field. However, there are localized regions on the Moon's surface, sized up to several hundred kilometers, where a very strong magnetic field preponderates. This has also been shown by rock measurements from Apollo missions. Questions about the origin of those magnetic spots arose. An analysis of magnetized moon rocks brought to Earth by Apollo astronauts showed that the Moon must have had a strong, about 110 microtesla magnetic field at least 4.25 billion years ago, which then fell to 20 microtesla level in the 3.6-3.1 billion years BP period. First theory goes that they are somewhat remnants of an ancient core magnetic field, possibly similar to what can yet be observed on Earth today. Molten and solid iron are components of the Earth's core. Such core rotation generates the magnetic field. Why the inner field of the Moon extinguished at some point has remained a subject of studies. How exactly the magnetic spots were formed still requires more research, but now it is clear that at some point in time an internal magnetic field of the Moon had to be present for this to happen, says Hugh Spritz, professor at the University of Potsdam and head of the magnetospheric physics section at GFZ Potsdam. In addition, this study can help us to better understand the nature of dynamo-generated magnetic field and the dynamo processes on Earth, the outer planets and exoplanets. However, single silicate grains with magnetic inclusions from Apollo rocks formed at 3.9, 3.6, 3.3 and 3.2 billion years ago have been shown to be capable of recording strong magnetic fields but do not. This supports an alternative hypothesis that the Moon never had a long-lasting core dynamo, consistent with the lack of energy needed to sustain a field. According to the first theory, the dynamo causing the magnetic field needs flow of conducting material, such as liquid iron. In case of Earth, this happens in the planet's outer core, and is caused by convection of heat. The Moon's mass, on the other hand, does not suffice for convection to take place. Astronomers could not give a decent explanation of what else might generate the required liquid iron motion in the Moon until Christina Dwyer stepped in. Christina Dwyer of the University of California, Santa Cruz, and her colleagues suggest that the Moon's solid rock middle layer, called its mantle, stirs up its liquid iron core. The researchers think that this happens because the Moon's core and its mantle rotate around slightly different axes, and the boundary between them is not quite spherical, so their relative motion causes the fluid to mix around. The strength of the steering is determined by the angle between the core and the mantle and the distance between the Earth and the Moon, because the tidal gravitational tug from the Earth causes the Moon's mantle to rotate differently than the core. This model would explain why the Moon used to have a magnetic field but no longer does. That's because the angle between the mantle and the core has narrowed over time, while the distance between the Moon and the Earth has widened, causing the tidal force to steadily decrease. While these forces used to be enough to generate a dynamo inside the Moon, they aren't anymore. Based on their calculations, the researchers estimate the lunar magnetic field might have lasted about for 1 billion years, somewhere between 2.7 billion and 4.2 billion years ago. There are various theories for the magnetized rocks found on the Moon, but let's return to our subject, shall we? Stars. People are constantly irradiated by electromagnetic radiation ubiquitously, both from sources within our planet and space. Electromagnetic radiation comes in various frequencies and makes up a decent amount of the world as we know it. Again, stars continuously radiate people, animals and everything else on this planet, including the planet. This does not mean you could get affected much by, say, the constellation of Virgo. The stars in those constellations are light years away, and you see them no more than little shining dots in the sky. That is, if you manage to find a decent slice of sky free from light pollution. You're too far away from those little pretty dots to get any decent red dose, and even more far to somehow get engaged in the magnetic fields of the stars. The only star, however, that does affect you, and not in some weird mystic way, but by good old sun rays, is of course the sun. And you better take care with it. Sunburns can have nasty health consequences. But the solution to this is old-fashioned. Use non-toxic or aquatic life sun creams. Don't be staring directly into the sun, especially in telescopes and during eclipses, and try to go green and not put your own load into the upcoming ecology crisis. Ozone layer holes are no joke, neither is the climate change, unlike your horoscope. This is some ancient joke which got far out of hand. Sagittarius, Scorpio, or even seven-tailed flying beetle, whatever. Why not choose a unique constellation for your character to follow your own personally forged fate? Other. None of the classic 4 fundamental forces can be used to explain why did Jane break up with you by a text message by means of associating yourself with some unicorn mermaid dot-connected star-shaped light years away, and trying to solve the math through gravity and electromagnetism, or by weak and strong forces, which are much worse candidates for such a story since they are very short range, they only work on subatomic level, is a bad idea. Either create your own kind of magic or discover an existing one, but stop messing up actual science, okay?
Okay.
Yes, there are new fundamental forces to be proclaimed, and new discoveries are yet to come, which will stepwise reshape the world of physics. However, make sure you study science, not unicorns. Albeit various studies bring no proof of astrology concept's validity, there is a study that does indicate people who fall for astrology have tendencies to be more narcissistic and have lower intelligence levels. Duh. The team collected 264 responses using an online questionnaire. The participants were assessed for belief in astrology using a shortened version of the Belief in Astrology Inventory Assessment, as well as personality assessments, a specific assessment for narcissism, and a test of intelligence using a 3-dimensional rotational items test from the International Cognitive Ability Resource. The main results show that the higher the narcissism, perhaps surprisingly, the higher the belief in astrology, the team wrote. The positive association is possibly due to the self-centered worldview uniting them, though this must be examined in further research. Furthermore, cultural aspects of millennials may emphasize the uniqueness of individuals, which might lead to a more egocentric view of the world and thus relate to narcissistic traits. Further, since astrological predictions and horoscopes tend to be positively framed, this reinforces grandiose feelings and thus might appeal even more to narcissists. Note that narcissistic traits correlated with the belief that astrology is supported by science, which leads to a speculation that narcissists may generally be more fact-resistant, as written in the study discussion. The study also revealed smaller positive correlations between belief in astrology and agreeableness extroversion. Our aim with the present study was to contribute to an increased understanding of individual differences and unfounded epistemic beliefs, such as belief in astrology. The results showed interestingly that narcissism was the strongest predictor of belief in astrology. Even the stars think that I am superior, as written in the study conclusion. This is always a digest of the research. Read the study for yourself, get acquainted with the study limitations, dot tables, and more. Astrology has nothing to do with neither astronomy nor other sciences. There is no proof it is working. The science behind astrology is broken. Humanity misuses it according to its own law. Nevertheless, it works this way because authentic astrologers make up some idiotic excuses to glue up the law behind it. After all, the imaginary business has to be maintained because milking folks with lack of critical thinking and proper education is a swell business.
Rise above. Focus on science.
Believing that random cluster of stars light years away, that connected by some dude thousands of years ago, ineluctably affects your love affairs and fate is no more ridiculous than building your life depending on which wings are you. By the way, I'm Tekne. Oi, how about dividing the night sky between Naruto characters? No, bad idea. I won't be able to fit into Naruto or Chimaru in those Uchiha constellations at once.
Hey, tell you what, how about we create our own horoscope with blackjack and hookah? We'll call it hookah stuff.
All the reading references are to be found in my article. There was a huge pause between that and the last video at Sci Club due to factors mentioned in the previous video and technical issues, but the acceleration has already taken place, so you can expect the time gaps between videos shrink drastically. At Sci Club, you can expect further major articles accompanied by videos on subjects of science, health and wildlife, as well as debunking pseudoscience, bad science and just pure nonsense people tend to believe in, which also tends to cause them a fortune. You can already find various hot scientific articles on the website. Sci Club is a source of reliable science, the information that was fact-checked and well-referenced, information that will not be silenced. The project is evolving rapidly. Subscribe to the channel not to miss out on something important and interesting.
Astrology is a good science. You can know more about future, family, and work and life.
Shizen sentako ga shipai shite. Jinko sentako oshimasho.
Astrology project took extremely long to finish off. The script itself did not take very long and was completed this spring. Shooting realization was the part that took several months. Personal story and technical issues among other factors led to several continuous delays. Video was shot 3.5 times until I got it in a suitable quality. Closer to the end of the video, you could see me inserting a scene for the first shoot. It's mid-November already and it will still take some time to finish editing this video. So this is our little studio.
The chroma key wasn't so crumpled when we filmed. I replaced it. This is my friend and assistant Dima. He also has a YouTube channel.
YouTube channel on video games and walkthroughs.
This is my friend and assistant Dima. He also has a YouTube channel.
YouTube channel. Тьфу ты, YouTube. Ладно. У меня такое не впервые, кстати.
Я это все ставлю в неудачные кадры.
Funny moments on the backstage. Okay.
This is my friend and assistant Dima. He also has a YouTube channel.
Тьфу ты. YouTube channel on video games and walkthroughs.
Vultures.